Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Council for the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich. It is February 28th, 2024. It's 5 o'clock, and I would ask Clerk Tara to get us started.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich opens at 5 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Does anyone have a declaration of pecuniary interest? I see none. Item 3 is the adoption of the draft minutes that were part of the agenda package that Council received. Are there any errors, omissions, changes requested? I see none. The minutes will be adopted as presented to Council. Clerk Tara, is there any items not listed on the agenda?
Bylaw 2024-07 for zoning bylaw amendment 1/24 will be added as proposed bylaws prior to the closed session.
Okay, thank you. Okay, number 5 is the Planning Department. I see Tracy. Are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item A is a request to add 29593 Talbot Line, the South Dunwich Hall, to the Heritage Register. Do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just to explain why this report is before you, if you recall, Council gave administration direction based on a recommendation of the Heritage Committee to designate South Dunwich Hall, and the municipality is the property owner, and it's always their practice to get the property owner's permission. So from that council direction, the Heritage Committee has gone ahead and done some research and have concluded that it does meet the requirements under the Heritage Act for a designation. However, they really felt that it was just too common of a structure and that there wasn't a lot that needed to be preserved. So what they're recommending is that because this property is not on the Heritage Register as a listed property yet, the Heritage Committee is proposing that Council go ahead and add the property to the Heritage Register, but not pursue designation at this time. And I should note that with the new Heritage Act, once it's on the register, it can only be on there for 2 years. And then once it's removed, it cannot be put back after 5 years. So the committee just wanted to just delay this one until that 2-year period, and then they can focus on other heritage designations at this time. So that's what the request before you this evening is just to give us authorization to put this property on the Heritage Register and confirm with you that the designation will not be pursued at this time. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Council on this one?
I guess my question, Tracy, is I can see what they're trying to do here, but since it's a municipally owned building, does it make sense just to leave it off the register until we're ready to decide what to do? If we put it on and don't do anything, then we can't do anything for 7 years. Am I correct in my understanding?
You are correct. So yes, that is another approach, is just to keep it off the register until we're closer to designation, and then you know for sure that that period of 2 years is closer to that intent.
Councillor Dryfoot, you're on the committee. Does that make sense? I'd like your comments on that.
Yes, I agree with Deputy Mayor Loveland. I think we can wait unless unless Tracy feels there's urgency. But I think the committee at our last meeting was struggling with trying to find. There was some evidence there, but we really wanted more evidence to make it worthwhile. So I don't know if it will happen or not, but the rest, I mean, I think our feeling is we're okay with letting it wait as well. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? I guess it's not going anywhere. It's owned by the municipality. Clerk Tara, do you have to make changes to a resolution for that item?
Well, I can read the resolution and then council can decide whether they'd like to amend it or just defeat it.
Okay, we're ready for the resolution.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Droulard, that Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Request to Add 29593 Talbot Line, South Dunwich Hall to the Heritage Register, dated February 28th, 2024 for information, and that Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich proceeds to add 29593 Talbot Line to the Heritage Register under the provisions of Section 27 of the Ontario Heritage Act, and that council no longer pursues the designation of 29593 Talbot Line as property of cultural heritage value or interest under the provisions of Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act. All in favor? And that's defeated.
Okay, thank you. We have to skip to item C. B is a public meeting, and it's the proposed interim control bylaw as a moratorium to pause new development. Tracy, do you wish to speak to that one?
Yes, I'd like to highlight what we are presenting to council for your consideration. So if you recall, council directed administration to proceed with an interim control bylaw as a moratorium to pause development within just the settlement area of Dutton in order to address the municipal servicing capacity limitations. And that includes any development for residential, industrial, or highway commercial. So again, the interim control bylaw is a tool in the toolbox out of the planning act exactly for that purpose, to halt development while you manage an identified issue. We have had some consultation with the county, and the county has given us some suggestions on the draft bylaw. So what we've done is prepared a draft bylaw for you to review. And if you're okay, we can either make some adjustments or leave it as is and bring it back to the next council meeting for you to adopt. And then notices will go out at the time of the adoption to stakeholders. It'll go in the newspaper website, and we will, newspaper, stakeholders, and website. So the interim control bylaw is only good for 1 year. You do have the option to extend it for 1 year. One good suggestion that the County of Elgin had suggested is that we consider maybe an allocation bylaw as a result of our 1 year sort of pause. So when we do come back and we do start letting development come into the capacity of the plant, we identify an allocation bylaw. So the samples that we've seen so far is that every year council would take a look to see how much capacity is available and how much you'd be willing to allocate. And you can have a bit of a control year by year, and you can assess annually how your capacity is coming along. So that was a really great suggestion that the County of Elgin made, and we will take that into consideration once the interim control bylaw is released and we are ready to let development proceed. So some of the key highlights of this bylaw is that it is for all Planning Act applications, and they are specifically listed. Any building permits that are already in the process or can be issued because of the current zoning, they do not, and they do not require Planning Act application, they are still allowed to be issued. So we're not stopping anything like the future McDonald's that is currently, has a site plan control approval, is currently zoned properly, and there's no holding provision. So a building permit could still be issued on that. I did build in your request to allow for exemptions on a case-by-case basis. So for example, when the senior apartments for Lyons Road comes forward for their zoning bylaw amendment application, we would just add that in as a resolution to the zoning bylaw amendment approval that you give them exemption from this bylaw, and that will allow that development to proceed because it has been identified already as a low capacity user with only 33 residential units, and that it should not cause any capacity issues. So we will always bring those types of suggestions to council, and you can make those decisions on a case-by-case basis. Now, the one thing I did want to clarify, and I was incorrect the last report that I brought forward, is that the interim control bylaw new to the Planning Act is appealable. So once the bylaw is adopted at the next meeting, notice will be sent out and there'll be a 50-day appeal period to the Ontario Land Tribunal. So I wanted to make sure that council was aware that we did not report that properly the last time, because the Planning Act has changed so many times, we missed that, but we've got that clarified now. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and if you're happy with the bylaw, we've tried to make it very simple and clear to understand, but we certainly will be, considering any more further comments that you might have. Thanks.
Thank you for that report, Tracy. Council, do you have any questions? We've had a chance to read it. Councillor Drulard.
Hi. I noticed that you said that you had some direction from the county. I'm wondering if you had some direction from the province. I have some concerns that if we do this, that we may hinder our opportunities for grant funding to increase our capacity. So I did reach out to our local MPP, and I haven't heard back. I have been in some correspondence with his assistant. I just don't want us to get behind and not get funding by putting this in place. So that's my major concern, because I know that my understanding is that the county does need to approve plans of subdivision, and they will not approve them if Dutton Dunwich does not have a plan for the wastewater capacity for addressing that issue, and that they're aware of our situation clearly, and that developers are aware of the wastewater situation. And we have site plan control also as a tool for industrial and commercial. So I'm just concerned that if we do this, it might take away the urgency of our situation with the wastewater capacity issues.
Okay. Tracy, do you want to respond to that? Either Tracy.
I can start. So through you, Mr. Mayor. So the intent of this interim control bylaw was to try to make the province aware of our situation. And actually, it was a suggestion of an article that was posted and discussed at, I think, AMO, that made the suggestion that everyone should put interim control bylaws on to raise awareness. With your question about did we consult the province, I did circulate the draft bylaw to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and they did not respond. So I can certainly follow up if you wanted to defer the bylaw until I come back with another report. I can certainly do a follow-up with MMAH to see if they can give me some comments. And with respect to the hindering of the funding, perhaps I'll let the CAO try to address that.
Tracy?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I actually think it's going to help our application, but that's just my feeling, because they're trying to push housing, and if we say no, we're not building housing, they're going to help us. So I don't, that's just my thought process, but there's two ways of looking at this. So I'm looking at it one way and you're another. So I don't know for sure. I kind of thought it would help us, but who knows? It could backfire as well.
And that's my concern. I don't want us to get caught doing this, and then they say, well, you put that moratorium on, so there's no money for you. That's my concern. So, I mean, and I don't know whether the province will comment, but I'm hoping they will. And then we have that as some surety that it's not going to put us in a bad spot going forward. And
that's great that you reached out to the MPP. Like, if he could answer you and give his thoughts, I think that's maybe an avenue we should continue to follow before, I can't really get at the applications. The asset management plan is posted, so that'll be going up in a couple weeks, but, yeah, we definitely should follow up on this.
I did have a conversation with MPP Rob Flack. He's well aware of what we're doing. I wanted to give him a heads up so the province knows, and he's taking a lead role as Associate Minister of Housing. I'm of the opinion that it helps our case when we apply for funding, and we have every intention of applying for the new monies that were just announced. And it's my belief, and I know it's CAO Tracy's belief, that we apply for the full thing right away, you know, phase 1 and phase 2. So I think we're on the right path here. The province is well aware of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I think it put Dutton Dunwich front and center on the need for wastewater funding. Councillor Dreyfeld.
Just a comment, so I guess my question is, I just don't want to leave the perception that we're going to hinder development or growth. And that concerns me when we put a moratorium on things. So I guess that's my greater concern in the bigger picture. I appreciate the bylaw and how it's presented and what the intent is. And I understand your point of view as well, as that it could speed up the process. But I guess my question is, based on the subdivisions that we have in play, so we have Lila, we have the commercial development, we have some unfinished lots on Leach. Other than that, we don't have any more subdivisions actually being developed at this point in time. So based on what we have forecasted in our lots that are ready for housing, will our capacity, I know we're at limited capacity, but will those homes work within the capacity limits that we can work with? So can we buy some time before we pass the bylaw and just see how the funding works out? To me, it's a matter of timing. I don't know if there's urgency in doing this right now until we maybe get more information from Rob Black or more information, but I'm just concerned that we're sending a message to potential developers that we don't want to move forward. And then the other part to this is maybe we need to do a bit more work in this sense of establishing what type of commercial development we would like to see in addition to what we have ongoing right now. I don't know if that's something that council can look at or that we can get the Economic Development Committee to look at, but maybe there's a couple of parts to this that we should address first. And not disrespecting anything you've done, Tracy. So those are some of the questions that I have. I'll support council whichever way they feel better, feel content in moving forward. If it means putting pressure on the province just by adopting this bylaw, I'm fine with it. But those are the concerns that I have. So.
Deputy Mayor Loveland.
I guess I'm, a little bit concerned about the appeal now, the 51-day appeal. I think when we were talking last time, we discussed the proposed Lions Club project, and if there's no appeal, it didn't create a further obstacle for them to overcome. So I'm a little concerned if we pass the bylaw in its present state, that's going to open up another appeal that could have to be dealt with. So I guess my question to Tracy is, can we exempt properties like that we've already had applications, they're not approved yet, but we're at least aware of them? It just looks bad to, in my opinion, to pass this bylaw when we know those are coming.
Any comment, Tracy?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So for plans of subdivisions, the County of Elgin is our gatekeeper. So they've made it very clear, and we've identified that during all the pre-consultation processes and with commercial and industrial development, that the plan has to be tendered prior to any approval. So we've tried to negotiate with the county to say, well, can we put it in a holding and let the planning process go through? And they said no. And in the last report that I brought to council, I sort of went through what the provincial policy statements say, the county OP and the Dutton Dunwich OP. And it's pretty clear that says is that no development should occur until there's adequate servicing. And it specifically identifies sewer, plant, and storm and water. So we can take the position that these applications coming forward are, just don't comply with the official plans because there's no adequate servicing. So it could just drop the process right there and then. Now, I should mention that the county's comment on this interim control bylaw is that this is a big hammer that is being used. So as your tool in the toolbox, we've picked the biggest tool. So, when they mention that the allocation bylaw is another alternative where we could put in an allocation bylaw now, but essentially what your bylaw schedule will say is that allocation will be 0 across the board. And then every year we would come back to you with an updated allocation bylaw. And then that's when you would add in the numbers where you seek. And you can deal with your allocation on an annual basis. So if by any chance some minor modifications happen this year and capacity of 2% open up, then you can decide on how those capacity allocations will be assigned and which ones get priority. And there's a couple different variations to that. It could be a first come, first serve, or it could be, closer to the core, working your way out. So those are some tools that we can use with that. The other way would be is just keep it status quo with what we're doing today. So what we've done is, again, we've told everybody during pre-consultation that we have issues and we are not going to process any applications. Now, they always have the right to appeal a no decision. So if you have an application for commercial development and we don't make a decision within X amount of days, they have the right to appeal, but it'd be a very difficult appeal to go to the Ontario Land Tribunal to say there was no decision, and we'll just say, well, we have no capacity, and then that would essentially be the argument, and I don't think that any of those applications would be very successful. So there's a few approaches that council can take. So kind of recap, use this big hammer, and it draws a line in the sand, and it just helps protect me at the counter being able to say, this is what council's wishes are. 2 would be is let's go straight to an allocation bylaw and we'll just get that set out. Or step 3 is do it status quo and then just keep telling people as they come to the counter that we're just not processing any applications right now until capacity is ready.
Councillor Pemberton.
Thanks, Mayor Hens, through you. Thanks, Tracy. I essentially think we have a moratorium on building now. We can't allow any, and we know that. And I'm concerned that if we don't do something, I don't know whether it'll help us with funding or not. And it'd be nice to hear something from the province. I think I'd like to see more about this allocation bylaw and how that works compared to the moratorium or the interim control bylaw. I think if we're talking about using tools to say something, if we put an allocation bylaw in place, we're still doing something, but maybe not something as big as a hammer as an interim control bylaw. So, maybe we get the best of both worlds. We've done an allocation bylaw, so that may help us with funding and help us with that, but it's a little bit more relaxed than the interim control bylaw. So I think I'd like to see a comparison of that and maybe some advantages and disadvantages of both before we move forward with that.
Just a comment, I think an allocation bylaw is fine, but then there's a lot of decisions that are going to come by council. It's this guy or that guy. The fact of the matter is we have no capacity. Nothing, basically. We're running over month after month. The province knows it. We know it. The developers know it. So here we sit. The county won't approve anything anyway, and we can keep going back, well, it's their fault. Well, no, it's not their fault. It's the fault we don't have capacity at our wastewater treatment plant. That's the bottom line here. And I'm convinced that, and we can get verification, I would instruct staff to reach out to MPP Flack. I don't think it's hurting us in that regard, but we can confirm that. So I'm still in support of the hammer, the big hammer right now. Councillor Doulard.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the work and that's into it, but that's been put into this. It's just, again, we're speculating what the province is going to do. And what I would really like to see is that they make a comment for us, because that's a really good guiding tool. It's going to affect you. It's not going to affect you. That's a really good guiding tool for us to make an informed decision on how the province is going to respond to our interim control bylaw. So that's my feeling on it. That's it.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor.
Just one more question. So if, so in plain and simple language, if somebody comes to us and says they want to develop, is the answer no, or we're in, like, we can't move any forward? It's no, straight up no, and they walk away? Or with an allocation bylaw, do we still leave the door open to a potential until we get it resolved? Is that what we're saying?
Planner Tracy, I'll let you handle that one.
So we do have different residential, commercial, and industrial applications at different stages. Some are in formal applications, some are in pre-consultation. So what we've told everybody is that you can continue doing your support studies and you can do your plans. We'll continue reviewing it, but we won't deem the application complete, and we will not process any public meetings, or we will not enter into any agreements. So it lives in limbo from their work to where we can actually process an application. So with an allocation bylaw, we would still, be in the same position. You could maybe move something as far as an approval of site plan control, and you would put it in as a condition of site plan control that they are on hold until an allocation bylaw is assigned to them, or an allocation is assigned to them. So they would have to sit and wait. We'd have to be careful too, because site plan control agreements do have expiry dates. So you may come back with renewals often. So that's sort of the message that we're giving everybody. And I know that some people, I say many of the people are unhappy because there's a lot of work that has been done to date, but they understand. And some of them are coming forward now with alternative solutions like private septic package plants. So we might start seeing a few more of those temporary solutions just to get developers moving forward. But that would be an expense that the developer would have. So by having this interim control bylaw just makes it very, very black and white and clear for the developers to understand that, yeah, we're pausing development as for now, and we will be happy to remove it as soon as we get that plant tendered.
Councillor Dreyfus, I think that answers the question. It's no right now. So we can ask a few more questions. We can defer this to the next meeting. We'll have staff reach out to the province, however we have to do it. And I think the question that's concerning everybody, are we shooting ourselves in the foot with funding? Fair question. So if we can answer that, and we'll bring it back next meeting. How's council's thoughts on where we go with this?
I would be in favor of that, Mayor Hens taking that position. I think it'll just clear, I'm struggling with the whole concept, to be honest with you, because I don't want to send the message that we don't want to do business. And that's what bothers me. And I understand exactly the purpose of the moratorium, and it is a hammer. That's exactly what it is, but it can work completely the opposite as well, and that concerns me. So I respect everything that's been said here this evening, and I think we should wait one more meeting. So that's my personal opinion.
Everybody's okay with that? Okay. We'll move on with that. Is there a resolution on that one? Clerk Para? I guess you'd have to.
Yeah, if we're gonna defer it to the next meeting, we'll just leave that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And it is 5:30, so we can proceed with item B, which is an application for zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 01/24 for 31395 Talbot Line, the municipality of Dutton Dunwich, Wayne Norloose Farms Incorporated. Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA/24 filed by Wayne Norloose Farms Incorporated for property located at 31395 Talbot Line opens at 5:30 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. This is a public meeting as required by Section 34 of the Planning Act to afford any person an opportunity to make representation with respect to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the subject property from large lot agricultural A3 zone to special agricultural A2 zone and special rural residential RS zone. The subject property is locally known as 31395 Talbot Line in the municipality of Dutton Dunwich. Does any member of council have a disclosure of interest concerning the proposals? I see none. To the clerk, what method of notice and when was the notice given to the public for this meeting?
The sign was posted on the subject property by the February 2nd, 2024 deadline, and notices were mailed to property owners within 120 meters of the subject property on January 31st, 2024.
Thank you. I would now ask our planner, Tracy, to present her report.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the members of council. So the zoning bylaw amendment application was submitted by the property owner. It's a condition of severance, E2422. It's the vacant remnant parcel of the farm and the residential lot of the application. So as a condition of that severance, a zoning bylaw amendment was required for both the severed and the retained parcels. So the zoning bylaw amendment was circulated to public agencies, departments, and property owners 120 meters of the subject property. The report summarizes all the comments received. There were nothing of concern. The policy framework was evaluated at the time of the consent. So in the current zoning bylaw, the property is zoned a site-specific A2-9 and a A3 zone. So the severed parcel will be rezoned to a special rural residential RS zone, and the retained parcel will be zoned A2 zone. And then that A2-9, it'll actually remain because it was a requirement of a previous severance in the past that required a minimum lot area of 18.9 hectares. So administration recommends that the requested zoning bylaw amendment be approved, and then notice of decision will be mailed out, and there'll be a 20-day appeal period. And once your appeal period is completed and there are no appeals filed, then this condition will be removed from the Land Division Committee list of conditions. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Tracy. Clerk Tara, have you received any comment from staff?
Yes, as summarized in the planner's report.
Did you receive any written submissions of this application?
Yes, as summarized in the planner's report.
Okay. Before I open the floor to questions from the public, please be advised that if any person from the public wishes to receive further information on the action of council regarding the passing of a bylaw on the proposed amendment, please ensure that they leave their name, address, and postal code with the clerk prior to leaving the meeting. I think Wayne's the owner's the only one present. Is there any comments or questions from the public? Wayne, do we?
The only comment I have, we're set out to start off. My goal is to move to the main farm over time. And, everybody's been very helpful with me with the process. I don't do this process very often, but it's been good work with everybody. So.
Okay, thank you for that. And staff, I hope you're listening. We do have a good staff. Yeah. Yeah, great. Thank you, Wayne. Do council members or any other member of the public have any further questions? Nothing from council. That's always a good sign, Wayne. So nobody logged in either. That's, I don't see anybody. If there are no further questions, please be advised that any person wishing further information on the actions of council regarding the passing of a bylaw on the proposed amendment should leave their name, address, and postal code with the clerk prior to leaving the meeting. If you are not the applicant, you should request a copy of the decision since it may be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal by the applicant or another member of the public. The last day to appeal is March 20, 2024. Clerk Tara.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Application for Zoning Bylaw Amendment ZBA 01/24 31395 Talbot Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, Wayne Norlu's Farms Incorporated, dated February 28th, 2024 for information, and that Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich approves zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 01/24 for property located at 31395 Talbot Line from large law agricultural A3 zone to special agricultural A2 zone and special rural residential zone RS in accordance with the site-specific bylaw 2024-07. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay. This public meeting is now concluded. Clerk Tara.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Drewlard, that the public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 1/24 filed by Wayne Norlu's Farms Incorporated for property located at 31395 Talbot Line closes at 5:37 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
That's it, Wayne. You're good to go. Thank you. Should be. Yeah. If it's okay with council, I'm gonna adjust the agenda here and so we don't keep Murray sitting here too long. Everybody okay with that? So we're gonna go to item 8 on your agenda, which is staff reports. And 8A is the gravel tender results. Everybody had a look at that. Murray, any comments?
Well, it's up again, which seems to be the common theme of everything. So we only received one tender this year, which rather disappointing, but not surprising either. So, and we're comfortable using Johnson Brothers. So
Anything from council? Will there be a trucking tender with this, or is this delivered and spread?
this tender is delivered and spread.
Okay, thank you.
The only added expense will be us grading it after it's been spread.
Okay, thank you. No further questions of council? Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the Manager of Roads and Facilities titled 2024 Gravel Tender Results dated February 28th, 2024 for information, and that council award the 2024 gravel tender to Johnson Brothers Limited for the amount of $21.97 to $22.87 per ton. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. We'll go to item B, which is the 2024 dust suppressant tender results. Floor is yours, Murray.
Again, the winning bidder, or the lowest bidder, I guess I should say, is Eastern Oilfield Services, who we have used previous years. As discussed earlier, it is up substantially compared to other years. I think they have finally discovered the value of their product, unfortunately for us, but I believe that is what why the jump in price. But again, we've used them in the past. They do good work. We're comfortable with using them as well.
I just wondering, why the difference from 237 to 418,000? Is there a different product that they're using, or?
Yeah, there is a different product in there. What we're basically, the 237 is a salt brine that occurs naturally out of oil wells versus a calcium chloride, which is a chemically mixed product. Longer term dust suppressant, but on the other hand, you can do a lot of brine with sodium than you can with calcium. So if we have to run over it twice, we're still probably money ahead.
So Murray, we're talking about the same volume as in the past years.
The same volume as previous years, yes. We have got adopted, we have moved up the amount of volume that we do use now compared to, say, 5 years ago, because we tend to put brine on whatever new gravel is spread every day. Excuse me. Whatever gravel is spread on any particular day, we will brine it at the end of day. And we're finding that that is retaining the fines in the gravel and makes the road surface much better. We never used to do that. And I think it was something that we kind of discovered and thought that it seemed like a good idea, and it is proving itself. So the fines it binds the stones together, and the road surface becomes much better. So it has increased the volume of brine that we use, but not substantially.
Okay. Go ahead, Tracy.
I just have to give you a compliment I got from the county on Friday that I sat with the engineer and he said that Dutton Dunwich roads are the best. So best kept. So just a compliment for you.
We knew that.
You can tell them thank you from me.
Anything further from council?
We don't get many compliments here.
Clerk Tara?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drewler, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the manager of roads and facilities titled 2024 dust suppressant tender results dated February 28th, 2024 for information, and that council award the 2024 dust suppressant tender to Eastern Oilfield Services Limited for the amount of 0.095 cents per liter plus HST. All in favor? And that's carried.
Guess having these quote or tenders now makes the budgeting process a little more precise.
Precise, not easy, but precise.
Okay. Thank you. And thanks, Murray, for hanging around. I think your work is done.
Thank you very much, John.
Okay. Let's stay with staff reports here and we'll finish up. And item C is the Drinking Water Systems Annual Compliance Report. Everybody's had the original and the one that was just sent out again, the updated report.
I could just speak to that.
Yep, go ahead, Tracy.
Received an updated report Monday. The spreadsheet Tim was working on, unfortunately had a line hidden. So he didn't notice that it wasn't adding up right. But when Kate copied it and put it on her Word, it was a glowing error. So when Ken called me Monday morning, Tim and I got to work looking at it and got it all situated with the right number. So that's why you've got a second spreadsheet attachment to Tim's annual report. So.
Okay, I'll open that up to Deputy Mayor Loveland.
Thanks, Tracy, for going back and looking at that. I do still have some concerns about that report. The first one is in the body of the report, we show a line loss of 22,000 cubic meters. That's not really the line loss. That's the total that Tim has estimated for use in water flushers, the fire calls and the road department. So that's really not the correct figure. And I still think that there is an issue with our amount of usage in this report. I think if I'm reading it correctly, I think we have 11 months of usage in there. And if I do the math, our water purchases were 454. Water sold was 449,000 cubic meters. Water used for flushers was 29. For fire calls, 351, and for roads, 42. It means that the total water that we sold and used was 471,000 cubic meters. So we really don't have a line loss the way this is reported. We have an excess of water used over water purchases of 16,903. So I think that's impossible to do that. So I think
These numbers came from Tim. This is the exact layout he's used for 8 years or 9 years. So I'm not sure what to tell you because the water sales came right from the GL. There's 12 months in there because we moved back the last part of December into that 1.14 for sales. And the purchase comes right from invoices from the county. So I'm not sure, unless Tim's out on his, what he's calling line loss. I don't know. I'm not sure. This is the report that I've seen since I started here, which, Joe used, and nothing's really changed. So I don't know how to even start looking at what you're saying is.
I think if you go back to the 2021 report, I looked at it online. And yes, we did have amount that was at that time the 2022 unbilled revenue, but we also subtracted the previous unbilled revenue.
Yeah, but I do it at the beginning of the year, in January every year, like I told you when you called, so that when Tim's looking at his numbers during the year, he knows exactly what his revenue is. He's not waiting for me to do a year-end entry. So that's why you wouldn't see that reverse 2022, because I did it in January of 2023. So that's just a little different way of I do accounting because I like the GLs to be exactly what it should be. Another difference would be that Tim had not included Pioneer Line for the last 4 years, which we picked up on when I started looking at it this year. So that changed a little bit of the purchases that probably were missing last year or the last 2 or 3 years. Other than that, I can't. We can defer this and Tim can look at his numbers again if he'd like. I think there is a deadline for him to get this in though.
I think it's the end of March.
So, we could defer it and I can have Tim look at his numbers again. I know that the purchases are right from the invoices we received from Southold and West Elgin. The water sales come right from the GL. But I don't know, maybe this what he's calling line loss is wrong. I'm not sure. He just supplies those numbers.
I know the flushers is an estimate.
I would assume so. It's the same
Okay.
number that was on from 2022, I believe, so.
Yeah, I keep going back to the unbilled part of it.
That's just a prorated amount because the meters get read in November and then they don't get read again until March. So part of that is 2023 revenue. So that gets
Okay.
recorded as revenue in 2023. And then I reverse it in 2024 so that Tim doesn't think he has an extra 111,000 in January 2024, which he doesn't have because it's already been reported in. So.
There's two issues. There's the dollars, but there's the cubic meters that we have to reconcile. So what's council's thought on this? Has everybody had a chance to go through it? It's important. Anything to do with water is, and council is solely responsible. There is some urgency to this, and my understanding from Tim that March 18th is the deadline on this thing. So we could deal with it next council meeting, but no further.
Well, if there's concerns from members of council, I would suggest we defer it and have Tim have a look at the loss and maybe clarify how he derived at the numbers. That might be a solution before we move forward with it.
Where's council on this one?
I agree with Andy. I think should let them and have staff have a look at it and go through it and make sure it's quote show correct as they can.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Kara, do you want to deal with that or just defer it? Okay, thank you. Perhaps, and that's up to Tracy or Tim could sit in on the meeting as well.
Yeah, I guess he better, because he came up with the numbers.
Yeah, okay. We'll do that for March 13th. Give me a minute here, figure out where I'm at. I'm jumping all over the agenda. Let's go back to correspondence, which is number 6, and item A is the Bacchus Page House Museum, the Canadian Wartime Homefront. They're asking for a temporary closure of Lakeview Line from Bacchus Page House Museum to St. Peter's Anglican Church and Cemetery. Councillor Dryfout or Planner Tracy wish to speak to this. Did it come through the Heritage Committee at all? Oh, okay.
I believe this is an event that they are hosting that weekend. So is there someone here from Bacchus Page, I believe?
There is.
Hi, I'm Lene. I'm the event coordinator for Bacchus Page. Do forgive me, this is my first time. I'm kind of threw in here. Angela's really sick, so she was unable to attend. So we're having an event May 25th and 26th. We're having people fly in from all over Canada. And so our event is bringing awareness to life on the home front in Elgin County. So we are hoping for the road closure as we're going to have stations both at Bacchus, at the museum, as well as at the church. So we just wanted that extra safety measure of the road being closed so we don't have visitors and guests having the transportation.
Okay, thank you for that. Council, have any questions? No? Okay. Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the closure of the Lakeview Line between the Bacchus Page House Museum 29424 Lakeview Line to the St. Peter's Anglican Church and Cemetery 29625 Lakeview Line on May 25th and 26th, 2024, between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the Canadian Wartime Homefront event. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Lakeview Line is our road, but Curry Road is not. So should we advise the county of what we're doing as well?
So that portion of Lakeview Line is actually county road. So this will be going to the county as well as Bacchus Page.
Okay, thank you. How much of Lakeview is county?
I believe it's just the paved portion.
that had ceased.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, and thank you for attending from Bacchus Page House. Let's go to item B. It's the City of Sarnia. And they're talking about carbon tax. Anything from council? Anyone wish to speak to that one? Nothing. Okay. Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the resolution from the City of Sarnia urging the federal government to cancel carbon tax, which is financially hurting citizens at a time when affordability concerns are at an all-time high, to ease the financial and inflationary pressure on our citizens. And that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Rob Flack, MPP, Karen Vecchio, MP, and the City of Sarnia and the Town of Plimpton, Wyoming. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And we will go to correspondence. Item C. It's the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry update regulation of development for the protection of people and property from natural hazards. Anyone wish to comment on that one? I can see everybody's had it for a while, so Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Drillard, that correspondence item 6C from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry be received and filed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Item D is Prince Edward County Review of Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support Program Financial Assistance Rates. Anyone wish to speak to that? No. Okay. Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Drillard, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the resolution from Prince Edward County calling on the provincial government to urgently at least double Ontario Works and ODSP rates and index rates to inflation, answering calls already made by the Raise the Rates campaign and the Income Security Advocacy Center, commit to ongoing costs of living increases above and beyond the rate of inflation to make up for the years they were frozen, commit to jointly working between the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services and the Ministry of Health on the best methods of assessing client needs and then matching those in need to the services they require. And that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Rob Flack, MPP, Karen Vecchio, MP, and Prince Edward County. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And item E is Enbridge Gas, an OEB decision. Council wish to comment on that one? This is, I think it's something that it affects us as we try to increase capacity, those serviced by natural gas. And we were fortunate, it wasn't a big deal, but we did get a little bit of work done on Shackleton. We hooked up a few more homes fairly recently, and this puts in jeopardy all of that kind of stuff. Since I think we've had this before us before, I've reached out to contacts I have at Enbridge. They're quite concerned about this. I'm going to meet further with the representative from Enbridge. They have attached a sample resolution that we can consider, and they're quite upset about it. His comment was the OEB was 3 unelected people that arbitrarily made this decision that makes no sense to them or anyone else. And the decision to me looked like they were federal Liberal cabinet ministers making a decision, because we know that what their position is on any type of fossil fuels. So it's up to council where we go with this thing. I would like to support Enbridge on this because not only that, the way Dutton's growing, we're going to run out of gas here as well. That's a known fact. The pressure is as high as they can go on 80-year-old lines. There was in the works additional gas coming from the east. And I think this OEB decision puts a lot of that kind of stuff in jeopardy. And we just have to speak up on this, in my opinion. Anything further from council?
I agree, Mayor Hens. I think it's vital, and I think the reality of it is the movement towards electrification and the percentage of the removal of gas, fossil fuels is out of balance a little bit. I believe that's just my personal opinion. That's why I feel we still need to support this initiative, and also reading their recommended resolution. I agreed with pretty well everything in that resolution. So I think we should consider it as a council.
Let's see. Nods around the table on this one. So Clerk Tara, do you have a resolution?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, whereas access to natural gas is important to residents and businesses in our community for affordability and reliability. And whereas the Ontario Energy Board's decision on Phase 1 of the Enbridge Gas 2024 rebasing application, issued on December 21st, 2023, has concerning implications, including putting into question the future access to natural gas that support economic development, affordable housing growth, and energy reliability in communities such as Dutton Dunwich. And whereas Ontario is growing and access to affordable energy to support this growth for homes and businesses is crucial and is a measured approach to energy transition, as not having access to natural gas will stifle economic growth and put housing and energy affordability at risk. Now therefore it be resolved that the municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports a measured approach to Ontario's energy transition, and the municipality of Dutton Dunwich recognizes that there may not be enough electricity available to replace the energy provided by natural gas and meet the increased demand for electrification, that natural gas must continue to play an integral role in meeting the energy needs of Ontario, that the municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the work of the government of Ontario, that the government of Ontario has done to date, including the natural gas expansion program and electrification and energy transition panels, calling for clear policy on the role of natural gas to secure access to affordable energy, and that this resolution be forwarded to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Todd Smith, Minister of Energy, Rob Flack, MPP, Karen Vecchio, MP, and Enbridge Gas Incorporated. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And just further to that, the Ford government has appealed this OEB decision as well. Okay. We're on to item F. Victoria Spencer, a request to repeal heritage designation 29480 Fingal line. Okay. Councillor Pemberton.
Yeah, I guess I have a little concern about this. Our policy is that these people had to request to be put on the register and then be designated. Obviously, there was enough significant heritage with this building to support it moving off the registry and being designated. Hopefully they were made aware of the requirements when they had it designated, and I'm not sure having difficulty selling their house because it's on a designation is reason enough to take it off of it. But that's just my opinion.
I'm going to let Planner Tracy wade in on this because I think, well, she'll explain the reason that Victoria wants it off and the work that you've done to assist her. Go ahead, Planner Tracy.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the members of council. So yes, Ms. Spencer was aware of the designation and being put on the registry, and we issued a plaque, and she did some really nice photo ops for us, and I think that picture is on the Heritage's webpage. So she was very proud of this designation. It was one of the original 5 that were put onto designation, and it was originally appealed as well to the CRA at the time, and we won that appeal. So we fought very hard to get it into the designation. She has had issues with insurance. Now, I consulted with other heritage planners and was able to obtain a sample letter that other municipalities use to give property owners to convey to their insurance company that we're not asking them to, in case there's a fire or a replacement requirement, and we're not asking them to replace, same for same. So she doesn't have to have the exact same rock frontage. It could be similar or it can be complementary. So there is some flexibility in case there's a damage that to the Heritage Committee would not, prescribe such specific replacements. So Ms. Spencer had approached the municipality and said, the letter that was written still isn't good enough. Their insurance company wants to see a copy of the bylaw. They want us to have more guarantees. So I've been doing some additional research with other municipalities, and the City of London has been very, very helpful in getting me other samples and making some suggestions on a letter that we could go ahead and send to her. But while I've been doing that research, this letter came in with the request to repeal. Now, we've never had a request to repeal yet. So we do have to do some research as a Heritage Committee to find out exactly what steps we need to do to go in there. So this letter is going to get forwarded to the Heritage Committee. We're going to review it. And then based on their recommendation, we will come back to council with either a recommendation to refuse the repeal or a recommendation to support the repeal. I'll have to take a look to see if there's any appeal opportunities to the Ontario Land Tribunal if we do refuse. So we'll report all of that to the committee and to yourselves when you make this final decision. So what the next steps are is for you to just be aware that this is a correspondence received, and then this correspondence will be forwarded to the Heritage Committee, and then we'll do a more thorough review.
Thank you, Tracy. Any further comments from?
The only thing I'll comment on is that there was a lot of work put into this and a lot of time and obviously cost. It's frustrating, to say the least, when we have a repeal, and especially it was at the request of the homeowner I wasn't on the Heritage Committee at the time, but this was a request of the homeowner at the time. So the research and all the work that was done into it and the insurance argument, the bottom line is in my research, and we've discussed this at the Heritage Committee level many times, they're going to assess the house at its replacement value, not at the historical heritage value. So if they deem the house worth $650,000, they're going to get $650,000, and they're not asking them to construct it to its original form. They're just giving you $650,000 to reconstruct. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions in this approach, and it's frustrating. And I know as a Heritage Committee, we've struggled with getting the communication out to people so that they understand it. And obviously, there has to be a passion for preservation or otherwise this is unsuccessful. So I don't know where to go. In the future, it's frustrating. And I, I understand why heritage committees have problems. So.
I was on the Heritage Committee at that time, and the reason it got designated, if you look at the history, the architecture, the construction, I can think of no other building in this municipality that deserves that designation more than that home. That was the sole reason for designation, no matter what any letter from her real estate agent suggests. It had to meet certain criteria, and it did in spades. So I think we work with Victoria on this insurance issue. Whatever the municipality or the Heritage Committee can help in allaying the fears of the insurance company, we're prepared to do that. But house deserves the designation, in my opinion. Okay, anything further on that one? For Tara.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Drulard, that the request for repeal of heritage designation for 29480 Fingal Line be referred to the Dutton Dunwich Cultural Heritage Committee for review. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved
Thank
by Drulard, seconded by Dreyfus, that relevant correspondence was reviewed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you. We will go to item 7 is the consent agenda. 2 items, the Western Ontario Warrens Caucus, Social and Economic Prosperity Review. Item 2, Elgin Council Economic Development, February 2024 newsletter. Anyone wish to comment on those? Everybody's quiet. Good, Tara, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the items on the consent agenda be approved. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, we'll skip down to item 9. Unfinished business, the pumping station and infiltration inquiry update, and that is a Tracy Verma.
Dylan's still waiting for all of the CCTV videos to come in so they can analyze it. It's kind of sweet revenge when they can't get a contractor to answer them back, kind of like what we go through, so. But yeah, they're still waiting on that, so I was just talking to Jason today, so. That's about it, and then Jason's gonna help me also with pump 1 and that sanitary pipe on Leach Street being way too low to see how we fix that, how that's gonna be paid for before we assume that subdivision. I wanna make sure it's all right, so that's kind of all in the works right now, so.
Okay. Are they giving you a date on the pictures, the CCTV? What are they saying?
He just can't get Ken to answer him back, the owner of the company that did it, so.
Okay.
Kind of like Dylan won't answer us when we ask for leave our treatment.
Yeah. Too much work, I guess. They're not eager enough. Okay. Anything further on that one? Any new business? I have one item, and we briefly discussed it, or I did with Tara, and it's yesterday at county, they passed a work policy on the working from home, and I don't know what the best word is, the adjusted work schedule for people. I don't know as we have a policy. Tara was going to look into that, but I do think we need one. So any comments, questions on that?
Just out of curiosity, what did the county pass? Like just so we understand better?
we can use it, and I've invited Clerk Tara to reach out and get a copy of that. It deals with flexible hours, you know, the start times, finish times, putting them in their 35-hour week, whether they start early. It also deals with work from home, things like that. It puts it all together, and with the proper authority and direction given to allow all of that stuff to happen. Okay? So we'll have staff come up with a policy. Go ahead.
So we do a hybrid work week in Southwold, and people have the ability to work from home 1 day a week, and the program works great. But the program works great because people are cross-trained. And that would be my concern here, would be making sure that we get our cross-training done before we institute a policy like that. Because if somebody's not in the office because they're working from home, and I'm supportive of working from home, I just can't be supportive of it if we don't have the cross-training that we need.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we do have a policy in place that does allow for 1 day from working from home already. That went to council, what, 2 years ago? Year and a half ago?
I actually was on vacation for that meeting. I came
Yeah,
back.
yeah, something like that. So we do have something already in place for that you're allowed to work 1 day from home. But we don't have anything like flex hours or anything like that. So anyway, yes, we do.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm supportive of it. I am, and I like the idea of a policy. I just would like to see a bit more of that cross-training so that
Yeah,
people's questions can get answered.
I did tell staff that I'm gonna repeal it from May till September because it was too hard last year everybody wanted to work from home day. We had too many people on vacation. People couldn't take vacation because they had to cover the office. So I don't think when you have this amount of staff, you can offer much for the amount of being away from the office. So unless you lock the doors so nobody comes in, so.
I think with a proper policy in place, it protects you as well. There is some direction there, and everybody's clear on it. So, okay. So staff will come back with something.
Got that, Tara?
Yep.
Just a couple quick things. We haven't had a report yet from the Cenotaph Committee for a while. We'll try to get one for the fundraising for next meeting. But this week we did obtain a letter from the federal government that we were approved for, I think it was $20,000. The letter said a maximum of 25, but I think the application was 20. The Optimus Club has also approved a $10,000 donation. I don't know, maybe it's my voice, I'm going through puberty. Okay, I don't know. Anyways, we've probably got another 3,000 or so from individual people. So that amount's climbing up pretty quickly, which is nice to see, so.
I did do the journal entry this morning to move that, what we collected in 2023 to that reserve, and I think it was like just shy of 20 grand or something, so. Yes, and then we got the 25 grand committed in the 2024 budget, so.
Yeah, I think we're probably the committee will be doing an application to Green Lane. They want to kind of get a little bit further along on their fundraising plans, and they're out now kind of knocking on some doors. So I think I'm pretty happy with the way that's gone in. So committee's worked hard, not me personally, but the committee has.
I believe we are just waiting on one more funding, major funder application as well. So we're waiting on to hear from that. I think they do their turnaround in March. So We should hear about that shortly.
Good news. Yeah, go ahead.
Just one other item of business. The baseball committee, the baseball association, and their progress on the baseball diamonds. So they obviously have enough money to pay for the first one. And I think they were 40, I'm thinking 40,000 into the second one. So just clarification, I'm just wondering if we should issue a letter or something to them. Came up at our last meeting that they were anticipating more funding each year. So we already had, yes. So we had already done 20, and then we added another 20, which I clarified to them that was probably in the 2024 commitment from the municipality. So they were taken back a little bit. So I had to clarify our position as council and our support as far as the funding had to come from them and their fundraising efforts. So that I think that there was a little bit of confusion, but I will add to that when I asked them to provide us with a 5-year plan of what they saw the baseball diamonds looking like in the baseball association, they did submit that in one of our council meetings. So that is a 5-year plan of where they intend to go. So we need to consider that, or I'm asking council to consider that going forward in our asset management plan, because I said half the time, or my argument to them was half the time we don't know what you're looking for, and all of a sudden it shows up. So if we have something to work with, and we can at least do a 3-year plan or a 4-year plan or a 5-year plan going forward. So I think we need to recall that plan and just incorporate it into our asset management somehow or another going forward, and it might help them in their planning approach as well. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Councilor Goulart.
Oh, Henry, I don't know whether you can, or Councillor Dreyfus. I know that I am aware that their application went to round 2 for the Field of Dreams, but has there been any update on that?
No, they were notified of round 2, and so they did submit some other information. So right now we're just waiting. So it looks which round 2 is pretty high level. So we're pretty excited about that.
Fingers crossed. Okay. Any other announcements? Clerk Terry, you had one?
I could just add that we applied to the emergency management grant to get funding up to $50,000 for the wastewater treatment plant generator. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful in that. It was very competitive because we haven't seen any funding in the emergency management sector in quite a while. So there were lots of applications. Additionally, we can add that we are going to be having a stakeholder meeting on Monday, March 4th at 2 p.m. for feedback on the development charges background study. It will be held here in council chambers. The council portion will be at 4:30.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Nope, we move on. I think we're going to deal with a bylaw right now, Clerk Terry. Okay.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Pemberton, that bylaw 2024-07 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2022-50 for land municipally known as 31395 Talbot Line be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And we are ready for closed.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, that the council for the municipality of Dutton Dunwich now moves into a session of the meeting that shall be closed to the public at 6:24 PM in accordance with section 2392 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001, Chapter 25, for discussion of the following matters. A, labor relations or employee negotiations, section 2392D of the Municipal Act, Medical Center. All in favor? And that's carried.
Does anybody need a break?
Just quick.
5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that. Item 13, confirm proceedings. Clerk Tara, bylaw, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Drooler, that bylaw 2024-06 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the municipal council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich be read a first, second, and third time and pass. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And the date is before you on the future meetings, and one more resolution left.
Just, sorry,
Sorry.
just one comment. I will attempt to join you virtually for the next meeting. As long as I have a good connection,
When do you leave?
we're leaving next Wednesday evening and then we come back on the 14th.
So you'll be able to make the workshop for the DC on Monday, the 4th then?
Yeah,
4:30?
yeah, I was just looking at my,
Make sure when we're setting the date, like.
Yeah. no, I should be there for 4:30.
Are you going to a resort?
We are, yeah. It's to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary and my girlfriends from out east are gonna join us.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and their husbands, yeah.
Chances are they'll have decent internet.
Yes.
Okay.
And
You'd be sober.
Who cares? She don't have to turn the camera on.
I won't be here the 27th, and I'm just noting that it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Anybody else leaving? Okay, good. Clerk Tara.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Dreyfus, that the council for the municipality of Dutton Dunwich hereby comes out, that the meeting of the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich closes at 6:44 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
And just skip that, yeah.